That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks again for watching. We'll leave you with Sting and a cut off his new album. Take it away.
Hey man, listen, Bill O'Reilly, you say what you want about the man. That the fact that you could just turn it on and turn it off in that kind of manner, like bro, like I'm just saying, man, that's great. Listen, man, we got a special guest in the building. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody who's here. Shout out to everybody who has been a part of every one of these draft breakdowns between me, Chris, myself, Ivory, Five, Chaz, and whoever has joined. This is like the final boss. This is like the final boss show today. The draft is over. There's no other film to review. There's no other players to talk about. We got our guys. You know what I'm saying? We got my dog Stephen in a building from No Ceilings NBA, man. Shout out to Stephen, bro. Thank you for coming.
Hey, fellas. Thank y'all so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. You know, the draft is over, but the grind never stops. You know, we get to do these draft recaps now, and I'm already dipping my toes into the 2026 class, and I'm watching film, but I'm hyped to come on here, fellas, and come on and talk about the Pelicans. And y'all got some really good players. I'm excited to come on here and chop it up with y'all.
No doubt, no doubt. Go ahead, Chris.
I just want to say we're banned from talking about 2026 prospects.
That's
when
true.
It comes to this team, man. Don't mention nothing about 2026. Nothing at all. We live for the moment, goddamn.
You made your move, guys. Yeah,
I got questions about that. We definitely want to dive into that. Before we get started, I gotta say this. Before we get into the sponsors, I gotta show love to my dog. Ivory was supposed to be here. He had a family emergency. We want to send one up for my man. He got some serious, some serious going on with his family. So we want to send one up for Ivory, and if y'all can, just wrap your arms around his family. We love you, bro. Come back. You know what I'm saying? We hope everything is good. Also, one more thing. My homegirl Jackie, her mom is dealing with cancer, and I want to show love to her. Shout out to Jackie, man. We love you and your family. We want to make sure everything's straight. Everybody come home and everything's cool. But with that being said, we got to show love to the sponsors. Shout out to Blue Moon. Shout out to Dios. Shout out to John Deere, Sunshine. Shout out to 4D Energy, Task. Chris, who I'm forgetting? Y'all forgetting it? Standard Mortgage.
I mean, you said Blue Moon already. You said what? John Deere, Company Burger, Theo's at the bottom. People that get hungry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And look, man. Shout out to No Ceilings, man.
Shout out to No Ceilings.
So for those of y'all that don't know, and we'll let Stephen talk a little bit about it before we get into the the strictly Pelicans related stuff. But like, without Stephen and others putting together, but specifically his team with No Ceilings putting together these film highlight packages, it makes it difficult for us and a lot of other people to really learn more about these players, learn more about the game, learn more about some strengths, some weaknesses, man. So, Stephen, before we get into specifically Pelican-centric conversation, tell us a little bit, man, about you guys' background with No Ceilings, how you guys got to kind of put together these backgrounds or these breakdowns, what goes into them, and what's your favorite part about them?
Well, man, so to start off, a lot of our guys at No Ceilings have a background with the NBA. I'm actually like one of a few people, I would say, that I just got my foot in the door just because, I'm enthusiastic about basketball, love basketball. It's been my favorite. Like, I'm from Arkansas. I'm supposed to be like a football over everything guy, right? But I just love basketball more than anything. So I grind film. I work hard. I like to think I'm a people person, and that's just kind of like my superpower within the group. But we have a lot of guys who have had real connections, whether that's Corey, who used to do work with Mike Schmitz for Draft Express before he got picked up with Portland. whether that's Tyler Rucker and his affiliation with like the G League and overseas coaching. I know Metcalf has had ties to the Minnesota Timberwolves beat for a long time. I know Nathan Grubel was a part of like a scouting firm, like a private scouting firm for a while. So a lot of guys have had, ties to the game. And essentially when the Stepien used to be kind of like the independent kind of group of people who would do scouting stuff, a lot of those guys got hired off. Dylan, what's up, my man? I appreciate you checking in. Much love. Great show last night. A lot of those dudes from the Stepien got hired off. And so a lot of the dudes that I mentioned before, who are close with Schmitz, he was like, hey, this space is open. Why don't y'all kind of like group together and make something special? And so they kicked off year one. Myself and my co-host Maxwell Baumbach were like kind of year two additions to the group. And from there, man, I feel like it's just been all systems go. It's been awesome. But the Rucker actually puts these like highlight packages together. And what he does is our great friends over at Synergy Sports, who provide such a great service for anybody who, has the ability to be able to look through that program. And he just scours all the film, assembles them together, has just a great feel for the editing portion and then what people need to see from these prospects. He could put something on there that takes 7 hours for everyone to watch, but he wants it to be consumable. He wants it to be something that fans can appreciate and get people excited. Like our biggest thing in No Ceilings, man, it's like, it's easy to look at, 200 something prospects that are declaring for the NBA draft who want to see their dreams come true. It's easy to say like, hey, 180 y'all aren't going to do anything. We want to, approach it from, look, all these guys are talented. Like these are the best basketball players in the world, and only so many of them can get drafted. So we just try to approach everything with a positive mindset. I like to think that we're all just normal dudes and we've just kind of got a special bond. And we've just been able to garner a lot of support from our growing audience.
Shout out to Tyler Rucker, man. He's and I mean this in the most endearing way. He's a sicko.
Yes, he's got a problem.
He is a madman, bro. The fact that he and we truly appreciate the fact that he breaks it down into offense, defense, playmaking, so that way, like, we can keep the audience engaged too. Because I mean, take somebody like, we gonna get into this guy later, but take somebody like Queen, for example. Like everybody knows about his offensive repertoire, everybody knows about his playmaking, but there were some things we highlighted on this defensive video, like he, as far as like his hand placement when guarding, like he's really good hands, in passing lanes and things like that. But yeah, man, I really appreciate some of the thing, everything that y'all do. I got you, Chris. I'm about to work on that right now.
So what we gonna do while we had this conversation, Stephen, is just put like some of the. I guess we'll focus on the breakdowns that you guys put forward for Queen and Fears. We don't necessarily have to break down the film again, but just something in the background for the folks that pull up. If they didn't end up seeing the shows, they know where to find you guys' work at, and and everything. But let's get into some of the Pelicans conversation here. So we can start with Fears and then we'll get to Queen, right? I'm curious, like, what are your overall thoughts about Fears and how quickly do you think, and I'm talking like this season, possibly for someone who's so young, but also continues to, it just seems like he's kind of not let age get in the way of him making an impact, even everywhere he's went. How soon could you see him making an impact? Do you think it'll be this year, or do you think it'll be next year down the line? What are your thoughts on him?
I think he'll have an opportunity to make an impact as soon as this year, Chris. I just think that, there's a lot that could be said about, the strengths and weaknesses, right? I think, even for myself, who I'll admit, everybody, I still want everyone to succeed. I was a little bit lower on Fears within our collective, but it's hard to look at the things that we see like right now on the screen with Jeremiah Fears, who is a very fast, processing, but also fast moving athlete out on the floor. I mean, if you look and consider the fact that he reclassified to play college basketball this year, the old cliche, like this year he was supposed to be figuring out who he was taking to the prom and what he was going to wear and all that stuff. He's playing in the SEC, who, you know, I'm from Arkansas, might be a little bit biased. I consider that to be the best conference, if not the best, then at least the most athletic, right? The most representative of what you'll see in the NBA. So I just look at what Fears was able to do, such a high usage rate on an Oklahoma team that, listen, they had a lot of upperclassmen. Jalen Moore was on this team as well. A lot of people thought that he could be a potential draft pick coming into this year. The way that he was able to come in at a young age, take command of this team, I don't think is going to be all that dissimilar to what he could do in the NBA. I know that there are some, you know, kind of pillars within this Pelican system right now, with Zion obviously being that guy, but Trey Murphy III obviously being a guy continuing to rise. I don't think that Fears is going to look at the players on this team and feel like he has to kind of go into a shell. I think that he's going to be able to use a lot of whatever we saw from him at Oklahoma coming into the NBA and make an impact immediately. I think the shot's going to be the thing that's going to be like the swing skill for him that is going to be kind of like the limiting factor as to how impactful he could be. But I think the handle, the vision, the speed, the way he can get to his spots, even though he's not like his, you know, the strongest version of himself that we're going to see in the NBA, I think that he's got a lot of upside to his game, but I think that he can make a year one impact.
Yeah, and you said you weren't that high on him basically coming into the draft. To be honest, I wasn't either. I'm not even gonna front. I wasn't high on him. Not that I didn't like him as a player. It's that 28% from three. It just scares the shit out of me. Like it's terrifying, especially with him being so young. But I will say, one of the reasons that I started to run a corner, I guess, is really this breakdown. Like when you watch it, when you see some of the natural tendencies that he has, some of the creativity he has as a ball handler, as a basketball player. You know, he doesn't have the quickest first step, but he's really crafty. He can get his own. He can make a way for other players. Based on them taking him at 7, do you feel like that was the most quality they could get in that pick?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. I think that, listen, there were some guys that I was really high on, you know, in my own personal top 10. I like Cedric Coward a lot. I like Neat Clifford a lot. Big fan of Derek Queen. I'm glad that they were able to get him. I had Derek Queen at 4 on my personal big board. So I would have been perfectly fine if he was the first pick. Like, to me, the way that I look at this draft in retrospect is that if you would have swapped the picks, I would have been even more blown away. But that's just like a mental processing thing for me. Like, at the end of the day, you still got both of the players, so it's still a great haul. You know what I mean? Like, for me personally, how I assess both of these guys, if you just swap the order that they were picked in, this is a fantastic draft in my opinion. But I think picking at 7, that's not the direction I would have gone. But there are guys at No Ceilings that had this guy top 5, you know, on their big board. So that's just that's the unique perspective that we have as a collective, to where, and I think it's indicative to what we see in the NBA, because there were a lot of NBA teams we were hearing about that if he could have potentially gone where he went. That was kind of like the intel that we were hearing, is that 7 through 10 range was going to be really key for him, because if he didn't go there, we could have saw a free fall, like down to like, you know, 16, 17, 18 range. So there were enough teams, obviously New Orleans being one of them, that liked him within that range. So I think that if you were to survey the NBA like as a whole, I think it was a perfectly fine selection for them.
Stephen, well, first, real quick, Lito, the chat say you've been tripping, and you know why you've been tripping, man. Come on, man, get it together, bro.
I'm sorry.
The flagrant stuff that you've been like saying, and I don't even have the media like to even like play like the pause button, even go with it. I just got.
I got you. Hold on.
It's a family show.
I got you. Hold on. Let me, Stephen. I'm sorry. I gotta call the TV timeout. I gotta 1 second. Hold on.
I can't co-sign that, big brother, but I ain't mad at you for what you do. I ain't mad at you for nothing you do.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna clean it up. All I can do is watch the film and get better.
Well, that's why we here. See, perfect segue. So Stephen, let me ask you this. So me personally, and one reason I wasn't like super high on Fears, but I think it's just a personal bias for me, just because when I watch guards, young guards, I struggle with trying to predict what they will be at
Mhm.
best if they aren't, as Lito would say, physically imposing, or maybe they're young. You missing the jump shot, but the turnovers as well, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I try to balance that with the fact that, I mean, hell, for part of the season last year he was 17, right? He was second youngest, the youngest guy in college basketball in the toughest conference, and helped lead the team to the NCAA tournament. So he's clearly, like, mentality wise, he's wired a little bit different. But for those that maybe struggle with the fact that he isn't a great shooter yet, or that he isn't the tallest or the strongest just yet, or he did turn the ball over as much, what do you like? How do you still look at that and say, I think this guy has an opportunity to be, if everything works out, he's going to have an opportunity to be one of the better guards in basketball someday?
I mean, I don't think that we got to go back that far in the draft to see how Anthony Simons, it took him a little while to grow acclimated to the NBA. I mean, he was a relatively high pick for where I think a lot of people had him coming into his draft year, and he essentially redshirted his rookie year in Portland because a lot of the same concerns, right? Like play too fast, kind of almost outrun his handle to some degree, but very athletic, very quick twitch, a little bit slight of frame, not the best shooting prospect coming into his class, but Portland had a system where they had a couple of other guards on the team at that time, right? So where it wasn't like a pressure cook situation for him. You can put him in the oven a little bit longer and let him bake, right? So I think that I would try to take that approach, but I know that New Orleans isn't necessarily in the same situation as that Portland team was at that time. So I think it's going to be one of those things, where the acquisition of Jordan Poole kind of lessens the burden and lessens the immediacy that you need to impact from a guy like Jeremiah Fears. Despite the fact that you took him at 7, you can kind of let him play off of Poole. Point Zion is a thing that I know that the Pels have ran pretty frequently when he's been available. So I think it could be one of those things to where kind of slow play it as much as you can while also giving him some game time, because that's going to be the best way for him to grow acclimated into these highlights are sick. That's going to be the best way for him to grow acclimated to NBA gameplay, is actually playing in some games every once in a while.
Lito.
Yes, sir.
I wanna ask you while it's on my mind. Is there a way, since we've had we did this Fears breakdown a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe?
Yes.
So with everything that's transpired since then, all different conversations that we're having, win free agency now, we keep talking about how Willie Green treats rookies, or we talk about him being young, some of the guys that could be standing in his way, them needing to win, all of that. How do you think, like if things go, let's say in a perfect world, how do you find ways to get this guy minutes and win basketball games?
I mean, my bad. I mean, I don't think it's as difficult as it sounds. I think developmentally you can win for instance, right? Let's say starting lineup wise, you would pencil Zion, Trey, whoever the starters are, right? You would pencil them in, Zion's Trey specifically, between 30, 34, 30 minutes, whatever, right? Like there are minutes where you can trickle down into other players, especially like, that was crazy. All right. I'm sorry. There are minutes that other players can get allocated to them. Him specifically, I'm not saying he has to play 40 minutes a game. I'm just saying why can't we find 8 to 10 minutes for him initially to start, and then you let him grow into his game, right? Because this is the problem. Him being so young, as you've seen with Trey, as you've seen with other players, right? Willie Green has a propensity not to play young guys. So if you're not gonna play him, are you gonna send him to the G League? Because we've seen them not do that also. So he can't just sit on the bench and not play. You have to give him minutes early on because you got to build his confidence up, and that's the only way he can develop. But anyway, I'm saying that to say, bro, you can find 8 to 12 minutes for this kid easily. Okay, I feel like you said something, Stephen, very interesting. You said, and I want to continue to talk about fears, but I just have to address this point. You said you would have been fine if Queen was actually the 7th pick, and it was the inverse, right? I truly believe that people are looking at it like Queen is the 7th pick, and Fears is the 13th pick. It just so happened the moves that had to be made for Queen, but as far as like a talent in the draft, like I'm with you. Everything you said about Queen, bro, like we did a breakdown. He has incredible feel for the game. But as far as Fears, Chris kind of like alluded to my point. I wanted to ask you, I don't know how familiar you are with the Pelicans, but do you see a way where this kid can get minutes early in the season with Willie Green being his head coach?
Yeah, I think with the injury to Murray, I think it makes it so much more simple, because it's almost a necessity now that the guy that you invested a top 10 pick in has to get some playing time. And I do like the idea of him coming off the bench initially, because Poole, a lot of people will look at Jordan Poole from his later playing times in Golden State and just assume that that's him, right? But he actually, if we want to remove any bias or allegiances to other players or anything like that, if you look at what he did in Washington this year, he actually did a really good job kind of being the vet on that team with a bunch of young guys. So I think that New Orleans identified that to bring him in to kind of help out a lot. This isn't going to be like a sage veteran that I think he's not going to be Chris Paul, right? Like that he walks in and just makes everyone a winner and levels up the team by like 20 something wins, than more so than expected. I don't think that he's that, but I do think that he's been on winning teams. He's been a vital part of winning teams, and he's also had experience being a mentor to a lot of young dudes at once. So now that he's in New Orleans, he really only has to narrow that down to just one guy in Jeremiah Fears now. And I think just going in and backing him up, just kind of watch what I do, see how I do these things, come in for that, 10 to 14 minutes a game, whatever the case is going to be early on. I think that there is going to be opportunity for him to come in and be that backup point guard, help run those second units. You probably want to put like a Herb out there with him. You probably want one of him or Trey out there with him, just kind of make his life a little bit easier, on both ends of the floor, to be quite honest. But I think that there is a path for him to be on those bench units and picking up more and more minutes as the season continues.
Shout out to Kyle here, man. We are 24 minutes in here, roughly here. Yo, please, I don't know where the likes at right now, but we got 200 people in here now, man. Appreciate all of y'all, man. Please hit that like button, man. It helps the show, man. How would Justin say, Alito?
Guys, please hit the like button as it helps us. Justin go kill me, man. I'm sorry.
But so now I think we can go a little bit further into the Derek Queen element of we ain't doing that. Steven, let me ask you. This was from Ivory. What are your thoughts before we talk about Queen as a player, Queen as a prospect? You mentioned that you thought he was top 4.
Yeah, I had him 4th on my board.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on the trade in total to get him at 13 and what the Pelicans gave up?
Yeah, for the Pelican situation, I think it is a little much, especially considering it was like a best of between two situations, depending on what happens with Milwaukee. I understand that they signed Miles Turner. Hopefully that maybe keeps Giannis in the mix, but I think trading that asset, it makes it a little more difficult for, I think, people at large to, kind of accept this pick, because now he has to be the guy that I believe that he is in order to make for that trade to make any sense. But I say this like prime, but I think that he's like a Boogie Cousins light. He just moves like a big man, like a smooth big man. Just watching him play basketball, he just moves like an NBA player. Like, he's just going to be one of those guys. I know I probably said something that I shouldn't have said. I'm sorry, guys. But I see the looks. I'm sorry. I'll try to play by the rules here.
It's the chat. It's not us.
I'm sure. But Queen just moves like an NBA player. Just watching him play, you can just see that innate feel that he has to his game. That the ball handling ability. I know it's probably another one. You're good. But his ability to do that, his ability to see the floor and move the ball incredibly well. I just think that he has the potential to be like a legit offensive hub, I'm not going to say Nikola Jokic, but I think, in the Alperen Şengün, that Domantas Sabonis type mold, where you could trust him to dribble, to put the ball on the ground for a little bit, make a sharp read, find the open man, and make a great play. And one thing too that stands out about him is that if you look at the things that translate the most between, pre-draft and NBA success, it's rebounding is actually one of the more indicative traits that a player can have as to how successful they'll be at the next level. And as much as we talk about the feel and the fluidity that Queen has, he is like a bit of a jerk, for lack of a better word, on the floor. He's very mean. He's going to go and grab boards and push the break too. It's like, some grab and go aspects to his game. I just think that there's so much offensive talent. And then I know that a lot of people say that he is not a good defender. And I think that he can be a good defender. He just has to be more consistent, because I watched him this year when they were playing against Illinois, and he locked up Kasparas Yakashonis on the perimeter. Like, Kasparas could not get around him. So I'm like, okay, there's something there to where he can be better defensively than I think that he's going to get credit for by, kind of the national audience. I love him a lot. I just think there's so many aspects to his game that he just checks the box on. He just doesn't look like an NBA superstar because, he's a little pudgy, right? But he's a big body transformation guy. Like, from what he looked like coming out of Montverde to what we saw this year, big difference. And if he's going to work that hard for college, like, I don't know why he's going to continue to, or why he would stop and not continue to be like on that complete body transformation trip that he's been on so far.
Yo, thank you for saying that. That was my next question. Just, do you have any words about his conditioning? Before I even ask the question, because people, when I talked about, our love for Queen, they would say, well, man, I mean, this guy, like, we already have one guy who can't really stay in shape. Like, what about this other kid? Like, you want two players of the same ilk? And it's like, I
heard they were calling him the Gumbo Brothers already.
I ain't even hear that. Wow.
That's kind of fire.
Put it on a shirt. Yeah. Yeah, we might. Yeah, but my thing is literally what you said. I'm like, yo, if you saw what he looked like in high school versus what he looks like now, I'd literally just see a kid who is continuing to get better and work on his body. Do you have any fear, or you have any worries or concerns about his conditioning in the NBA?
I don't, because if you look at the team that he went to, like, Maryland is a good program, right? Like, I'm sure the coaching staff is great. Like, I don't personally know anyone on that staff, but when I think of Maryland, I don't think of like a rigid adherence to this ideal within their program. Like, they don't strike me like that, like a Duke or what Kentucky used to be, or what North Carolina used to be. One of these like true blue blood programs. Like, Maryland doesn't strike me as that, but still, Queen came in much better condition. By the end of the season, let's think about it like this. Last year, Donovan Clingan was considered by some people to be good enough to be taken number 1 overall. Like, that was a conversation that we were having. And this was a dude that for 2 seasons at UConn, he shared playing time with another big man, right? I don't know why Derek Queen is kind of getting a knock against him when he plays more like moves better, more fluid, has better feel for the game. I just think that Derek Queen has shown us that we should be confident in his ability to continue to work towards the most successful version of himself that could potentially be out there.
So, Stephen, let's continue talking about what Queen could be like at the next level. One of the worries that I see, we're talking year one, right? I mean, is the fit. Like, is he a center, right? And he appears to me right now to be best served as a power forward.
Okay.
But, and I mean, even whether he's a center or a power forward, in where the league is going right now with more double big lineups, we see what Oklahoma City's doing. We see what a lot of teams did across Cleveland, so on and so forth. That's going to be something that the Pelicans are going to go to. But Pelicans just signed Kevon Looney. There's Carlo Makovich there. There's Yves Missy. When you're talking about, and then there's the Zion element. Some worry about how the Pelicans are going to incorporate him, and what would that look like from a spacing perspective? What are your thoughts if he's playing with another big, him playing with Zion? How will that work if, say, he's not getting the basketball in his spots consistently, or he's someone that early on will have to find other ways to kind of contribute? That could be, I mean, hey, look, man, if you play for Willie Green and you were big, whether you can shoot or not, he's gonna put you in the corner for reasons that no one knows.
What?
But what are your thoughts on the spacing element of him starting with him, and how the Pelicans will be able to kind of, I guess, work around that with him maybe not being a perimeter threat just yet as a shooter?
Yeah, I think year one is going to be tricky, but I mean, we're watching here on these videos, like, look at him just double cross into a pull up, mid-range shot. The fact that he only shot 20% from three on very, very low volume, I think has some people scared. A lot of people were saying that Kamal Malawach is the big man that we need to watch as a potential 3-point shooter. In the meantime, Derek Queen has shown around the rim that his touch is really nice. He's also ranked in the 81st percentile in the mid-range while also being a solid mid-range shooter or free throw shooter. So I'm like, how in the world can we be talking about Kamal Malawach potentially spacing the floor, but in the meantime, you got a big man who's literally handling the ball like guard and has feathery touch in traffic, soft hands, mid-range shots on point. And, a lot of people look at volume as like a reason to not believe in 3-point percentage, like in a bad way. Like, let's say, I think he averaged around like 1.8 threes per 100 possessions, something insignificant like that, but only shot 20%. If he would have had the same volume, but shot 42%, people would be like, well, I don't know, his volume really wasn't that high. You could have that same argument the other way and be like, well, his volume was so low. How do we not know that the touch is better than what we saw from him this year? So that's kind of why I think that the 3-point percentage, I wouldn't even worry about it. Look at the touch indicators. I think that they're pure. And if you're looking at, is he a 4 or a 5? I think that people get so measurements happy in a sense, right? But look, Josh Hart plays the 4 for New York, and he's like 6'4". Draymond Green plays the center for the Golden State Warriors, and he's like 6'6", so I wouldn't get so worried as to the listed height. Just watch how he plays. That's going to be the most important aspect of it. And then even if he is only, and I'll in air quotes say, even if he's only a 4, what did we watch in the NBA playoffs? What are NBA teams telling us is valuable? It doesn't really matter if he's a part-time 5 or a full-time 5. If he can play the 4 or the 5, that's added lineup versatility right there. Like, why can't he be like the Isaiah Hartenstein of this New Orleans Pelicans team, right? Where he can moonlight between a 4 and a 5, depending on the lineups that he's in. He's going to be able to bring such versatility. And I like that. I like the thought of him and Zion working together, where he's screening for Zion and setting the floor open for him on screens. And then he can make short roll passes out into the corner for Jordan Poole, or, TM3, or, like I said, if that 3-point shot gets there, which I believe that it will, like that makes the spacing even more dynamic, right? I think the bigger questions isn't where he scores or anything like that as to what position he plays. I think it's going to come down to what's the defensive upside with him? Like, how talented is he going to be on that side of the floor? That's what's really going to impact, his positional value.
Man, I'm sorry. Every time we watch these highlights, I'm like, yo, this motherfucker good, bro. It's like
Worth on my board, man.
Bro, you know what? Shout out
How
to
you watch a 6'10" dude move like this and be like, nah, I don't get it.
First of all, the Malawak drafting over him, it had me so pissed off because I'm just kind of like, no disrespect to Malawak, right?
Sure.
But when you watch this kid, what aren't you seeing? Like, it's clear. His ability is like it's clear. I don't know. I wanted to say shout out to you though, because I remember in January when obviously the lottery hadn't happened yet, and you predicted Flag to New Orleans. So I wanna shout out to y'all at least for trying to give us the number one pick. Like we appreciate that.
We're here to help, man.
But I have a question about Queen. Shout out to Chaz. Do you have any concerns over him being a rookie but turning 21 in his rookie season? Does that bother you at all?
Could care less, man. Like I'm probably one of the people that you'll find that cares the least about age when it comes. But while I could care less about it, like I get the idea why it's important, right? Because the older you get, the shorter in theory your developmental curve is, things like that, right? But I mean, we see 22 and 23-year-olds get better in the league all the time. You know what I mean? Like we see upper class, like Steph Curry wasn't like a super young dude when he came into the league. Dame Lillard wasn't a super young dude when he came into the league. We see like older dudes come in the league all the time and continue to do great things. I don't know. Like it really doesn't bother me, to just answer your question plainly, Lito. Like I don't care.
So, Stephen, you mentioned earlier about the, I think it was the Illinois game.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's your favorite game, but I do want to know from Derek Queen what your favorite game was this year. For me, it was the Colorado State game in the tournament, but not for the reasons that most people pick. I think a lot of people go to the game winning shot. To me, it was the last 5 minutes of that game and how he got there to still be available mentally and want to go and get that basketball. They're not seeing the ball, not attempting a shot, I believe, for like the last 5 minutes in that kind of game. So that was what kind of really showed me that he was that he was wired different. But did you have a favorite Derek Queen game this year?
So I won't sit here and lie to you, Chris. Like I don't have the best memory when it comes to like individual games throughout the year, because I'm not trying to like say anything by saying this, but like I watched so many of them, it's hard for me to like really like have the mental capacity to like really put one in a box. But I did like the game against Colorado State, one because he was playing against Neat Clifford, and that's one of my other favorite players. I had him 10th on my board. I can't believe NBA teams let him fall the way that they did. But I will say for the shot, that's the most obvious reason, but I do appreciate the shot that you gave, Chris. Like the way that he grinded, those last 5 minutes of the game to be able to put the team in the position to win. I just think, man, to be like the youngest dude on your team playing for the Crab Five, which is an all-time like cool nickname for a team in college basketball. The fact that he wanted it, and it wasn't like a traditional college big man scoring possession, that was like an NBA game closeout shot. That was a star shot, and the fact that he wanted that, the fact that he contorted his body in such a way to where he was going to get the shot, no one was going to be able to contest it. And it was a big moment. Like that moment's going to live on for a long time in Maryland history. And I just think that speaks to like Jeremiah Fears is zero fears, but like that shot was a zero fears shot for Derek Queen in the tournament.
Just a dog, like just literally, like, you know, give me the fucking ball. Like I need to have the basketball, and it's really a breath of fresh air because, man, you know, hoop has gotten so political lately. Like, guys can't really, like, I can't say this because the aspect of team and whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, like, with the games on the line, you want your best player to not only get the basketball, but to feel like I'm supposed to have the basketball. Like, I know I'm gonna make the shot is already made. I just need y'all to pass me the ball. And shout out to him for not only having the as a freshman having the heart to say that, you know what I'm saying, but then to go out and execute the shot. It's just, you know. Let me ask you this, not to put you on the spot, but I guess I'm putting you on the spot by asking you.
Let's do it.
All right, if you had to guesstimate Derek Queen's stats for his rookie season, right? If I said, or if you say, is there a number where you look and you say he only averaged X amount of points, he underachieved?
Ooh, so predicting a stat line for him in his rookie season, and if he did anything less than that, he would be underachieving.
Yes.
I would say probably 13, 7, 2, and 1. So I would say 13 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, and I'm gonna say 1, meaning I'll say a combined block / steal, so a stock per game. Yeah, okay. I'll give you 1 stock per game. I think anything less than that is kind of like, okay, he underachieved. I think that he's got legit, like, rookie of the, like, not saying that he's gonna win it, but like he's gonna be on the docket. In my opinion, I think he's going to be on the docket for rookie of the year. I think it's going to be hard to pry it away from Cooper Flagg. I mean, that's a bad dude, but when you start looking at like that second and third spot, I think it's easy to watch what we're watching right now and be like, yeah, this works, man. Like, this is going to be nasty in the league.
Chris, before you answer this question, let me just say this. I agree with you, and we were shout out to Ivory. Ivory wanted to know who you had being in the MVP, the rookie of the year voting outside of Flag, right? I totally agree with you, but I want you to understand this, Stephen. His coach, Willie Green, hates him already. He's never seen him play. He's never been in the Pelicans uniform, but he hates him. He's gonna make sure Derek Queen does not get rookie of the year. I'm just telling you.
Well, he has a habit of shutting up haters, dude. Like, I don't know if y'all have seen this or read any stories about it, but you know how, I mean, y'all know this, right? Like, most basketball players, when you're like, how do you deal with the, you know, the criticisms and stuff like that? And they're like, I don't read anything. Everyone acts like they're Amish, you know, whenever they get asked this question, right? They're like, I don't have electricity. I don't have social media, barely have running water. You know, like, I put my head in the ground after a basketball game, right? Like, Queen doesn't shy away. He's kind of like KD in a sense, to where he's like, okay, I see your criticism. I'm gonna come back and show you why I'm right and you're wrong, you know, on the court. And he'll have some fun, like, talking with players and talking with fans and stuff like that. Like, he's very much like of the mindset to where he doesn't care. Like, he cares about what people have to say, but he's not gonna let that like limit him. He's gonna use that as fuel to like get over whatever obstacle he has in his way.
Well, I mean, his coach in Maryland said that if he was white and European, he'd have been the number 1 player in the draft. So, you know,
probably.
All right. So we'll see. I mean, so let's talk now a little bit about maybe the duo of Fears and Queen. Like, you know, with the up and down, you know, the kind of just inconsistency of Zion, whether it be playing on the court, off the court. You know, we don't know year to year. I mean, it's kind of year to year now with his situation in the Pelicans, maybe even in the NBA. We don't know until we know. But the Pelicans could have drafted, you know, the future, 2 guys that may determine their next 5-10 years, and, you know, in Fears and Queen. How do you think they fit together? What are some of the things that, you know, you think with their strengths as individuals, you know, some of the things you've seen them do in organized play? How can they complement each other And do you think they have an opportunity to be to be dynamic together as a 1-2 punch at the next level?
If I'm a part of the New Orleans Pelicans coaching staff, I'm showing them film of Jokic and Murray. Like, that's what I'm like, y'all just try to do this as best as you can, right? Because Queen obviously has the height of eye advantage. He's going to be able to pass over the top of defenders. If he gets to the point to where Jokic, it took him a little bit of time for that touch to extend out to the 3-point line. But once that happened, like, he's now unguardable. You have to respect the passing from every angle. Now you got to respect the shot from every spot on the floor as well. I think that if Queen could become respectable from the 3-point line, you see the vision. You just saw it right there on that play where he dribbled to the elbow, picked up the ball, found his teammate cutting off the corner and fed him for, a dive to the basket. I think Fears could do a lot of that, where Fears is, again, not a very vertical athlete, but he covers the ground really well in terms of speed. So I would imagine like those DHO sets, those high, off the top of the key, put the big man up there and let, Fears run off of some off screens, like flying down to the basket. I think that could be good, but eventually you would want them to be good in like a pick and roll sense to where you can allow Fears to operate with the ball. Queen could set a screen. The big thing is like Fears has got to be able to be more dynamic shooting off of the bounce and particularly from deep to make any of this really like the highest end outcome that it could possibly be. I think I think Queen could help in the regard that I was just mentioning earlier, but you really want Fears to be more dynamic with the ball in his hand as the scorer, because that's where you're going to unlock so many things to where Queen could be just like deadly passing out of a short roll.
I think we did a show the other day and we talked about Summer League and we talked about, Queen and Fears. And I think I said at this point, I think that Queen could probably help Fears more than Fears can help Queen at this point in their development. Because like you said, the one thing is Fears has to be dynamic and he's got to make that shot. So if the shot not falling, I'm not really respecting anything else. Like, you got to prove to me that you can make that shot. So I guess realistically going forward, do you think there is a path for Fears to become a competent shooter in the NBA?
I think so. I think that there is a path. I mean, a lot of times what we see in the NBA is like, even if you're not a great shooter coming in, over time you'll develop that shot. Even Cade Cunningham, who was a great college 3-point shooter, came into the NBA. Due to poor spacing issues, he really didn't hit the ground running from deep, but over time we saw him develop and regain his confidence as a shooter, where this year, now that the team has better spacing, his 3-point percentage has gone up. So I think that the league typically does do a great job of allowing these guys to get better as shooters. And a lot of times you just got to rep it out. The NBA style is so free and open compared to college basketball where it's so regimented, like a lot of things are prescriptive in the college game. Whereas in the NBA, you're freestyling out there in a lot of ways. So I think that Fears, if I'm coaching against him as a head coach, I'm giving him the ability to prove me wrong that his 3-point shot isn't good. But that's also going to give Fears in-game reps to show that he can do it, right? So, like, if you don't think that he can shoot now, like, he's going to have the opportunity to improve that shot over time in actual live game reps. So I think that he's going to have every opportunity available to him to develop that shot over time.
You have some, Chris? So I guess going forward, hold on, wait. Before we do anything, what are the goddamn likes at, man?
Hit the like button.
Come on, man. We had 90 likes. Are you serious? It's 269 people in here, man. Let's run a quick commercial. We get to some questions that we try to star, and then we get Stephen out of here, man. He gave us a bit of his time. We want to give him some time back. So in honor of Justin, man, do we have the Company Burger commercial here?
I don't think we do.
I don't think we do. We don't have any commercials in here. Wow. Okay, let's just get to the fan questions. Let's see, chat. We got. Let's see. All right, shout out to Just A Davis. Stephen, he says, how does his athleticism and speed compare to other small guards?
I think that it's up there. I mean, I know Stephen A. Smith recently came out and said that he is Kyrie Irving light. That's crazy.
He's on drugs. I mean? He's on drugs. That's crazy.
Get off the weed, right? To Stephen A. Smith. I think that is comparable to who would I say? Maybe like a Darius Garland. I think, is that fair? I think that is pretty achievable and obtainable for him. I think that's right up there. I think that he compares to like that tier of guard. You know, he's not Kyrie Irving. He's not Donovan Mitchell. He's not prime Damian Lillard. That dude was a bad man as well. But I think that he's up there with, you know, like a Darius Garland type guy.
Okay. All right, Darius Garland. Let's see. Shout out to 504 boy for the 5-piece, man. We appreciate you. JD says he has Dame written all over him. That is crazy.
Is it the 0, JD? Like, is it just because he wears 0 that you see the Dame in there?
It's gotta be.
I mean, prime Dame was nasty, dude. Like, that dude has so much lift. You know, I think it was harder for him to stay on the floor than it was for him to jump in the air, you know, like, right. And that's just not where Fears is at as an athlete. He's quick, but he's not like, if you look at the max vert like that he had in the NBA Combine, you'd be surprised how many people like ranked above him vertically.
Yeah, and you know it's funny that you mentioned that, Stephen. I think that because of the era of guards that Dame was kind of in between, I think people they really didn't understand how good of an athlete he actually was, right? Just because, you know, you're not John Morant or you're not John Wall or Derrick Rose or Westbrook, like Dame still was like an athlete. He still had some athletic tools. So he wasn't, you know what I mean? He wasn't out here, you know, he wasn't slow. He wasn't Andre Miller. You know, he wasn't moving, you know, with boots on, you know. So I think that's a really good point. And Dame's ability with the quickness to get a shot off as well, off the dribble, I think, which, you know, is something that's we're gonna have to see with Fears, because you know with Dame, everything eventually starts with the jumper. It starts with, you know, him being a threat from 30 plus feet and you having to guard him almost as soon as he passes half court. You know, with Fears, you got to assume teams are going to want him to shoot a little bit more at the next level. They're going to be going under a lot of screens, going to give him space to try to have him make a decision and ultimately end up meeting teams that I think will try to pressure him and impede his ability to get downhill. Because that's his strength to me right now. When I watch the film, it's watching him get downhill. When he has a lane, he knows where he's going. The strength that he carries for someone that's 180, 190, I think that's the superpower right now. What he's able to build off of that to kind of complement that is going to be the key. Because if he does get a jumper, I mean, and you have to guard him, you know, you have to guard him tight. You have to guard him on high screens, high screening roads. You're going to have to guard him and go over on some of these things. That's I think a game changer with his handle and his driving ability.
I think too, like, now that I'm thinking about him, like what his athleticism is like, it reminds me a lot of, you know, young Mike Conley and young Tony Parker, in a sense, where like those dudes could like shift gears. You know, Mike Conley, son of a track star, right? Not the greatest lift, but could get to his spots really easily. But both of those two like struggled to shoot from deep early on in their careers. I think that might not be, you know, a bad, you know, career trajectory to kind of monitor with him. Like, how does he compare with like a Mike Conley and a Tony Parker, kind of like year by year?
Okay. Let's see. Chris, Al says that Fears is already better than Jose.
I don't agree.
I don't agree either, but we're just reading the questions. Let's see. Al also says he looked it up. Maxey and Ant both shot 27% from 3. makes me buy into. I'm assuming he's saying Fears here a little bit more.
So see, and I'm glad he mentioned that. I feel like the past 10, 15 years, man, all the high guards, like the guards that come out in the top 10 of the lottery picks, most of them have like issues, or point guards, they have issues with their shot. At least, well, I won't say issues, but they're not great high volume 3-point shooters just yet. It's just not. It's not something that any of the ones that I can think of outside of like Steph, and I'm sure that there's other point guards off the top that I'm missing here, but a good majority of them that we've seen handle the basketball. Some of the greatest to play in this game started out not being great from three and slowly had to, kind of add that and perfect that as time went on. So I'm not necessarily worried about the shot. It just makes it really hard when he's not 6'5", when he's not 200
freak
pounds,
athlete like those dudes were.
Right. He's not a freak athlete. He's as young as he is. That's what makes it hard for me to be like, okay, I know off top this is what I'm looking at. For Stephen A to go to Kyrie right away. You mentioned like even you could say some of his game reminds you of Darius Garland, but Darius Garland was a better shooter if I remember coming out of school or coming out of college than Fears is right now or appears to be. So like
short game though, like Garland, if I remember correctly, when he came out of Vanderbilt, I think he played like maybe 4 games. Like he had a weird injury thing. Yep.
Yeah. So but yeah, man. It's but I do agree with that. You see a lot of these guards, the jump shot takes a little bit of time. Maybe they work crazy on it during the off season. It's definitely going to be a point that the development staff's going to want to work on him with, and I'm sure he knows he has to fix it. So, yeah, man, let's continue to move forward here with some of these questions. From Carlos, Queen could be Zebo 2.0.
I'm glad people still remember Zebo, man. Like Zach Randolph, problem, like in a lot of different ways. He was one of those dudes to where it felt like the game was moving around him, because his just play style was so unique. I don't hate that at all, actually. Like I think Zebo is a fair comp for Queen.
That's actually my comp for him. Like everything, the footwork, the touch around the rim, the how did he make that layup? How did he get an angle to even shoot? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because Zach can't jump over a sheet of paper, and Queen can't either for the most part. But the fact that they get their shot off over taller, more athletic guys, because for the most part, they use their physicality.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. But I was more of like in the Boogie Cousins camp, but I think somewhere, like if you got the Venn diagram between both of those dudes, we're probably looking at a Derek Queen, like the variant between the two of those, The
Boogie one, man, is so interesting. Like I think like the low hanging fruit is him bringing the ball up full court, as we saw like with Prime Boogie, and what we think his jumper will eventually expand to. Of course, some of the bully elements with the ball. But to me, it's how he handles tight coverage and off coverage. That's the Boogie element. When Boogie was dealing with, with teams that tried to give him a little bit of space, Boogie's either giving them a shoulder or he's giving them a spin. Queen's like the same way. And if you try to guard him tight, he's gonna get you off him. But his handle is tight enough to where, like, it puts defenses in situations like, who exactly do you want guarding him? Because no, Queen may not be the fastest necessarily with his feet, but he's so skilled and he's so aggressive. You're gonna have to beat him to his spots, and it's gonna call. While I see him pushing guys out of the way all over the film that you guys drop, great film breakdown. You also got a lot of dudes that just losing balance, because he can dribble in an elevator. And I guess you have to when you are that size and you're not the quickest, off the dribble. But I like the Boogie comp best case just because how he just deals with the basketball downhill with space, without space. I mean, it's going to be interesting development to watch.
Yeah, it's a key element to his game too. I mean, on top of everything you just said too, Chris, like he'll hit you with some euros and rip throughs too. Like he'll get fancy out there too and put the defender on skates.
Hey, before we move on to the next question, Chris, you said something earlier about what Derek Queen's coach said. And to be honest, his game is more European big than anything to me. Like he that's what he is. Like he's more skill over, traditionally American bigs or athletic rim runners, you know what I'm saying? They crashing the glass. He's like touch, finesse, skill, you know what I'm saying? Jumper. And I see people saying there was a comment in the chat talking about Zebo's mid-range jumper. Well, brother, if you watch Derek Queen at Maryland, like he was literally pulling up shooting middies.
See, Lito, and also I think like when you thinking what's gonna be to me, what's gonna get him minutes right away on the floor and what's gonna make him an impact is that he's such a good passer.
Yes.
So, I think like some people look at him as just this offensive only, like scoring big that's gonna rebound, like this throwback of sorts. But he's a plus passer right away. He processes really fast. Like when the ball is on the way to him, he knows where he's going. We saw a bunch of quick touch passes in the film. We see him pass the ball out of doubles. We see him pass the ball on this block, that block. We see him passing the ball on the break with the ball. Like that's what's going to be interesting because he's not going to see doubles out the gate. More than likely, he's going to be seeing one-on-one. But that ability to pass to NBA players, his unselfishness to go with that aggressive style, I think it like right away is going to win him a lot of opportunity.
Pound for pound, the best passer on the team already.
I love it. That's why I was getting Alperen Şengün comps throughout the cycle too. Like I think that's not a crazy comparison either. If you want to do like the whole cross-racial comparisons that that are out there, I think that he and Şengün have a lot of similarities in that regard as well.
Let's take it a step further. I see a bit of Sabonis in this game also.
Exactly. The rebounding is there, just like with Sabonis. I mean, he's tough. I think that he can do a lot of similar things to both of those guys. You just can't compare him to Joker yet. I think that's like the Yang Hansen comparison right now is the Chinese Joker, right?
Bro.
Hey, man, look, he got drafted like Portland got him at 16.
Yeah, they traded down. They did get an extra pick, but I mean, they're forever linked now to Cedric Coward. If Cedric goes off, they traded away from where Memphis traded up to get Cedric to get Yang Hansen. I mean, yeah.
Man, let me
bold.
Shout out to Ted. Shout out to Ted just becoming a member. Yo, man.
Appreciate you.
One of the things that we don't talk about enough, and I've been telling Justin, and we got to do a better job of it as well. Look, if you are a member, the super chats, they help a ton. But what helps in cohesion with that are giving memberships for those like Cole that for whatever reason just can't find one. He don't know how to get one. Every time someone gifts a membership, man. So we appreciate y'all that that do that, man. That continues to make this show get better and better, and us to be able to bring you stuff like this. Shout out to Miles, man.
Hold up, Ted.
Go ahead.
If you're on Twitter, or if you're on YouTube, whatever, send me a DM, man, so I could get you some merch.
There we go.
Shout out to Miles.
What's up, Miles?
I don't know if Jordan Poole talks about Draymond at this point, but if he does, Stephen, Miles says, if I'm Jordan Poole, I'm telling Queen about Draymond's about Draymond's game. If Queen could become Draymond with more offensive tools, it'd be nasty.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, if Derek Queen could play Draymond's defense with the offensive skill set that he has, I mean, all bets are off, man. I would love it, as like the founding member of the Derek Queen fan club. Like, I would love it if he could be a Draymond Green variant. I think the offense is definitely there, and as much as I think that the defense is like taking a lot of just unnecessary like criticism, I don't think that it's going to be at the level of Draymond, but you could probably run some offensive sets in a similar way. And that's, again, if Jordan Poole does talk about Draymond, I'm sure it's not very nice, at this point. But
Okay, Lito, let's not let Stephen get out of here without asking him about Micah Peavy.
Micah Peavy.
please do. I'd be upset if y'all didn't.
Yeah. We got a couple. We got to get to another super chat. I got to make sure that we don't forget about any of those. But we got to ask about Micah Peavy as well as Hunter Dickinson, and what's my dog? I think from Clemson that's signed to an
God damn.
Did y'all get Victor Larkin?
No.
Chase Hunter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have to ask about those three. Shout out to Ted who just became a member. Lito, will Joe Dumars insist on Willie playing and developing / growing pains with the rookies?
I think Joe said something about not wanting to micromanage his head coaches, but I do believe, especially when you make such a move for Queen in the stakes of like what you did to draft him, I kind of think he's gonna make a push to get those guys on the floor. Shout out to Dylan, because Dylan said something about Joe, not saying he's not gonna hold those guys back. I mean, I hope he's true to his word, and I hope that's the thing. Like they should get all the opportunities in the world.
Yeah, you want to avoid a situation what we saw in Denver, right, with the GM and the coach not seeing eye to eye as far as like, these are the types of picks that I'm bringing in. You need to play them. And then the coach being like, well, those aren't the type of players that I want to play. You need to draft other people. You want to avoid what we just saw in Denver when it comes to the front office and coach, not agreeing with one another.
You got that right. Lito?
Oh, my bad. Shout out to Candid Ford. Chase Hunter's ass. I'm a Virginia fan. Watched him twice a year for the last decade.
I'm not going to say what Candid did. I mean, what a great name for such a comment. He's keeping it candid right there. I think that's a fantastic, YouTube handle. I am not the biggest Chase Hunter guy. I've watched him play for a while. I think he's a worthy shot, if you want to have a guy in your G League. And I think that there is value for having good G League programs in the NBA. It's a great developmental system if you do it the right way. A lot of the best teams in the NBA properly use their G League affiliate. I think that Chase could be a guy that you want to be in there and organize for other people. I wouldn't get too excited for his upside in terms of eventually cracking the rotation, though, if I'm being honest. But Micah Peavy, though, out of Georgetown, I think that he's a valuable asset to draft because his defense has always been good, like even dating back to his time at TCU. He most recently spent time in Georgetown with Thomas Sorber, who I'm a fan of as well. I like Thomas Sorber a lot. But Peavy was good, and what I really liked about him is that, yes, he's not a one-and-done guy. He's not even a three-and-done guy, but he's improved year over year, and particularly this year, he improved his three-point shot to where he was about a 40% three-point shooter on moderate volume, right? So I think this is a worthy get because he's a smart guy. He's going to pick up tough defensive assignments, and he's also shown himself to be reliable from deep. So I think this is a perfect type of player that you want to invest in, and I think that with New Orleans, I think that you could never go wrong with getting some more 3-and-D wings to stick around for the long term, depending on, health and stuff like that we've seen from some of the top players on this team. Having more guys that can do more of that is never a bad take. I think that he's got a real shot at getting some good playing time this year for the team.
Lito, what's your thoughts there about? Shout out to Terry, man, with the 10-piece there. What's your thoughts there about Terry's comment?
I'm not sure what Jolie is, so I'm not.
What you think of me?
I'm not sure because Jolie could be a number of things. It might be a juke joint. I don't know. It could be a Christian Bible camp. I'm not sure. It could be. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
Shout out to Jolie Bible cats. Yeah, man. Yeah. What also we got to ask about Hunter Dickinson, the dude.
Oh yes,
center at Kansas that played like 10 years in college. Is probably about. I think he's old enough to rent a car now. Like, I mean, he's He's been playing college a long time. What are your like, bro? He's bro, like 26 years old, man. It's crazy. But what are your thoughts about him?
I think it was a wasted two-way. I think there was a lot of other players that y'all could have gotten on a two-way that would make sense, because offensively, if you're looking for him to do anything outside of arm's reach from the basket, you're asking for a lot for him. Defensively, it's just not there. The playmaking is just so. He's always just been like a funnel because of how big that he is in college basketball, to where college coaches like a player like him because he can pivot on one foot all day long, right? And eventually find a shot that he likes and get it up over the top of the defender. I'm not the biggest fan of the use of a two-way on him. I think that, some of the allegations that exist within y'all's front office definitely weren't beaten by the use of a two-way on Hunter Dickinson. The infatuation on big men within the front office, I think, is definitely showing itself true for him. I'm not the biggest fan of him. He's probably going to be fine in the G League just because there's not a lot of like tall like centers in the G League. That's, a lot of NBA teams have those guys. He'll probably be able to be good in the G League by bullying some like undersized big men. I wouldn't get too excited to see him though on the rotation.
All right, man. We're gonna get Stephen out of here with a couple of more questions here. But we pod now, Denzel. Now this is how we close the show here. So everybody, I was shocked, and shout out to Ivory. Ivory told us Maxime Reynaud was going. He was a borderline lottery pick. We did a film breakdown thanks to you guys as well on Maxime. Maxime fell, I think, to the 43rd overall pick.
He went to Sacramento, yeah.
Right.
Still.
Yeah, we were both kind of hoping and wishing before the PV pick that's where the Pelicans ended up going. Do you believe that the Pelicans should have went with Maxime, or did they make the right pick with Micah PV?
I think that y'all probably went with the right pick. I mean, I had Maxime 37th on my board. I'm not the biggest Maxime guy. Like I live in Georgia. So I went up to Georgia Tech this year when Stanford came to town, and Georgia Tech has a player on their team by the name of Ibrahim Soare, or at least he was last year. He may have transferred. He's only about 6'8", only about 220, 230 pounds. And he made life hell for Maxime Reynaud. And like that brain splinter, like never left me. I think that for a guy who is supposedly a great 3-point shooting big man, he had the same 3-point percentage as Ryan Kalkbrenner, who was actually taken ahead of him, but he doesn't have the defensive upside as a Ryan Kalkbrenner. Nor is he as good of a passer or even a ball handler. So I respect everyone who had Maxime higher on their own personal big boards, but I just could not get with the lottery buzz on him. If you had him as a late first, I'm more okay with that. I could not get over the ick that I had, just watching him play. And just like, he is not mean enough as a big man. Like, and if he's going to be a shooting big man, I want him to shoot more than 34% from deep, like that's kind of where I was.
God, I wish I was here. I wish I was
here. Oh, man, look. Here you go, Lito. Terry. Appreciate it again. $5 more. Terry keeping the lights on.
Terry, what you doing, Terry?
Keeping the speaking of lights on. Terry snitching. Willie got his business all out of the streets.
I read that.
It's a lounge downtown where married men shouldn't be, and the head coaches of winning teams should be. Like, I'm assuming Eric Spoelstra going to Club Live in Miami. Hey, man. I got it. Hold on one second. I got it.
I can't co-sign that, big brother, but I ain't mad at you for what you do. I ain't mad at you for nothing you do.
I ain't got no comment on married men, but
my bad.
Go ahead. No, go.
I want to know, bro. First of all, Stephen, dog, like, I really appreciate you pulling up. You told us an hour, bro. We are hour 14 minutes. Like,
bro, I told you before we hit play, I'm here as long as y'all tell me to stay on until y'all tell me to get out of here. So I'm good.
That's love, man. That's love. I can't find a question now, but somebody asked, give them your starting lineup for the Pelicans this season.
Ooh, I'm gonna try to do a good job. I'm gonna try really hard to do a good job here.
The Ross is weird, bro. They didn't do a good job, so you don't really.
Yeah, I would say Jordan Poole definitely got to be in there. I say TM3 got to be in there. I'd say Zion and Missy got to be there. Who's some options that I can put in the backcourt? Starting 5-wise. Who's another? Oh, I'm stupid. Let me put Herb in there. We'll have TM3 at the 2. So we'll have point Poole, TM3, Herb, Zion, Missy.
How many games is that team winning?
Ooh, dude. I'll give you a range of like anywhere from 38 to 44. Is that crazy?
I was about to say 41. So
okay. I think that's a respectable window, right?
Until we see different, until we see different.
They won 20 last year.
The West is so crazy, man. Like Cooper Flagg is now in the Western Conference, like as a rookie now. Like there's the Houston Rockets are like loaded now. Like the West is just too deep. I mean, I feel like if y'all were in the Eastern Conference, like y'all could be pushing for like a 6 through 8 seed easy.
So Stephen, let's Lito got something else. I want to ask you because it's a perfect segue. Like the success while we're talking about Fears, while we're talking about Queen and PV and the Exhibit 2 guys and two-way players. The success of this team is gonna, as always, fall on the shoulders of Zion Williamson playing games.
Yeah,
I'm a believer that when he's healthy, he's probably the most unique talent that we have, just because of his play style and the consistency of that play style. Specifically, if he's in the right shape and he's committed to playing defense. And then the numbers say that you're probably going to win. You win more games than you lose when he's out there and he's healthy. What are your thoughts when you look at the landscape of the league, right? If Zion plays 60 games, if Zion plays 50 games, if he gets anywhere close to having what we would consider a healthy season, is he one of those guys that automatically just forget what's around him some nights or who they even going against? He's that superstar level of talent. So even though we're talking year 7 or year 8 now, do you see him, or you still see him as one of those guys that's just a floor raiser night to night, to where maybe you could be talking about a team that wins more than the range that you gave of 38, 39 to 44 wins?
I really want him to be. Like, I mean, you're talking about a guy who was one of the most prolific college athletes we've ever seen. Like and then when we saw him, like his first game, I still remember his first game against the Spurs, he's out there just knocking down threes, and I'm like, I'm not a big Pelicans fan, I'm not a big Zion fan, but I remember specifically watching his first game and just like, man, like he's out here knocking down threes game one. Like we are onto something with this guy, and I mean, he went on that run when he was healthy. I think it was his third season where it was like, if he keeps this up, he's all NBA, like he was putting up historic like efficiency numbers while putting up like 20-point games like it was nothing, and the defense has not been what we saw at Duke, what made him such a like crazy prospect. It's just so hard because when you don't play, the league just finds more stars. Like Tyrese Halliburton was a star this year, and now he's hurt, and he's gonna fade out of the public eye. Like SGA, we weren't talking about SGA the way that we are now back when Zion was going on that monumental run to start his career. So, I mean, look at what's going on with Ja Morant too. Like Ja Morant a few seasons ago, if we would have said that this dude was gonna be like not even like top 10 face of the league conversations anymore, you would have got laughed out of the room. So availability is ultimately what's going to be the thing for anybody, like Victor Wembanyama included. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about like Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Davis were going to be like the hands down face of the league. Like the GM poll, like what player do you want to build around for the foreseeable future? Anthony Davis and Karl Anthony Towns were like those dudes in their heyday, right? So you have to be available, you have to play in order to be looked at that way. I don't look at him in the same level as I do like a Jokic and an SGA anymore. And it's has literally nothing to do with his talent. It's just we have to string together some consistency.
And make the club in the tub. I'm totally with you. I think, listen, I expect my expectation for Zion, honestly, I have no expectations. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm also with that narcotic. He's not going to fool me again, because he goes on these spurts where he's gonna play 20 games, he's gonna look incredible, and then
he's gonna flirt with you. You know, he's gonna be like, "Hey, over here, how you doing? You know, remember me?" You're like, "No, you're not gonna get me this time. You're not gonna get me this time." Mm-hmm.
Well, Lito, you said can't make the club in the tub. According to Terry, Willie Green made the club.
Allegedly.
You see my hands up? That means I'm innocent. I don't know anything about that. Please don't shoot.
I was about to say shout out to Jolie, but I don't know if I want to be on the record to say that.
Hey, we don't even know.
I don't even know what Jolie
I don't even know what it is.
I don't know if I want to know.
I can't shout it out. I can't shout it out if I don't know what I'm shouting out.
Nah,
them's the rules.
Okay. Let's close out here, Lito.
Cool, man. Listen, man. One more time for my dog Stephen. We really appreciate you pulling up, bro. This is not gonna be the last time we pod with you for sure. Like, this shit was fun. It was a great show. You know, we definitely want you to, you know, feel free, come back, like tap in with us. You know, we unfortunately lowly Pelican fans, so sometimes we won't have a lot of happiness. You might see a lot of anger on my timeline. But it is what it is, man. Before we get out of here, bro, tell the people where they can find you. You know, tell us what you're working on.
Yeah, well, guys, Chris, Lito, thank y'all so much for having me on, man. And I'm a Razorback fan. I get it. I know what it's like to be miserable for a long period of time. And I grew up a Rams fan. You know, I've jumped on board with the greatest show on turf. And then there was a long stretch where, like, I was, you know, one of the only Rams fans that I knew was me. You know, I was my own friend, you know, so so I know what it's like to be a fan of a team that has some dark times. But again, thank y'all for having me. If you want to follow No Ceilings, at NoCeilingsNBA.com is our website where we put up stuff throughout the year. We're in the kind of the dead time, but we're still going to be putting up content. I'm actually going to be going up to Atlanta here soon. They're having the JUCO All-American Tournament soon, and like, I'm so much of a sicko that I'm going to go scout the JUCO All-American Tournament. So I'll be up there. I'm going to be writing about that. I'm in contact with some dudes that I think are going to be like big step up into like draft conversations this year. So I've already had a few phone calls with them and their representation. I'm looking forward to doing some work with those dudes. And then, you know, Maxwell just dropped like a piece over at NoCeilingsNBA.com where it's the free agent roundup. So if you want to get to know like literally anybody who went undrafted that signed with the team over the past couple of days, Maxwell's got words on them. If I can ask for a big favor from the Pelicans community, if you're on YouTube, if you can go to No Ceilings NBA on YouTube, go over there and subscribe. And we will talk about literally anybody that could be drafted, you know, for years upon years, even undrafted people that Pelicans might be getting on next time. You know, go over and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We've like hit a big boom this year. We would love for y'all to be a part of our No Ceilings universe and our family. We love our people, man. So, and it's been such a pleasure to hop on here with you guys.
Man, before you go, we literally every show we do when we're talking about draft coverage, we tell everybody, bro, tap in with No Ceilings. Please like, subscribe, comment. You know what I'm saying? Because we appreciate the work y'all do. And lastly, before you go, Terry had this message for you. I'm not gonna.
Man, I'm married, Terry. I got it tatted on me, so I can't. Even if I love my wife, but even if I was a scumbag, like, and I slid a ring off, like, I can't do nothing. It's branded on my finger. Been married for 14 years now. Been with my wife for 15 years. We have 4 beautiful kids together. So Jolie ain't got nothing on Brianna Gillespie.
About,
so
that's what I'm talking about, man. Chris, you got anything else?
I mean, according to Terry, Willie never mind.
Stop
All right, man.
it.
Look, man, for the chat, for Stephen, for No Ceilings, for Lito, for myself here, man. Appreciate all of you guys. Ronald, we will get to that question. I'm gonna save that, and we will save that for a Sunday show about the Zion Derek Queen situation in a minute. So I'm gonna make sure that we can write that down and to get to that for Sunday. But appreciate all of y'all pulling up, all 200 plus. Next time we'll get the likes a little bit better. We will holler at y'all. For Scott Vickner, for Theos, for Blue Moon, for the chat, for Blue. I said Blue Moon already. For John Deere, for Sunshine 4D, you name it, we got it. Holler at y'all. We out of here.
Yep.
He lied. Y'all niggas worship him. Lied.